Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Faith and my husband was out of town this past week, and so I thought it was a perfect time to challenge myself to another budget grocery challenge. This week I only spent less than $15 on my entire groceries for the whole week, and not only did I survive, but I would say I thrived. I ate so well, was never hungry, saved a ton of money on food, and wasted a lot less food because I was being more creative in the kitchen. So I'm gonna show you all of the meals that I ate this week. All of them are so easy, beginner friendly. A lot of them just require one pot, so very easy cleanup. And be sure to stay tuned till the end because I'm gonna talk calories, which I normally don't do, but I wanted to see, can you meet your caloric needs on $15 a week? So be sure to stay tuned for that. But for now, let's jump into my grocery haul. So I laid everything out for my thumbnail, so I thought this would be a good time to show you my grocery haul. But we got some potatoes. Voiceover Faith popping in. I just wanted to say I decided not to use these potatoes, but use some onions and garlic and ginger that I already had in my pantry. For a snack, I got popcorn. I am a snacker, and so I needed to think of something cheap that I could make, and popcorn came to mind because I made it the other day for my kids, and it's so inexpensive and it fills me up, so gonna have popcorn for a snack. Got some red lentils to make for a soup, I believe. Pumpkin is in season right now and so cheap. This was like 50 cents. Carrots are always inexpensive. Zucchini is fairly inexpensive, so got those. Rolled oats, I need oatmeal every day. I love it so much. It fills me up the best. So I have a ton of oats. I could probably have a cup's worth and still have a little bit of oatmeal left over for the week. Got one banana for every day. I got a bag of wheat flour, which looks like white flour. I think they just call it wheat flour. It's definitely a luxury to get whole wheat flour. Here in Malaysia, it's a lot more expensive, so I just went with white. Sorry about the flies. Got some tomato puree. I was looking for chopped tomatoes, but this was the cheapest and I knew it would have a lot of flavor, so figured I could thin it out and use it in a couple different ways. Got a lemon for a coconut milk lemon cream sauce I want to make to go with some fettuccine, and I also got some chickpeas that are dried as they're a lot cheaper to get them dried and cook them myself. So this is the spread. Yeah, I'm not worried about feeling hungry, and I feel like I will have plenty of calories and options during the day. So I know the prices you just saw on the screen are probably way different than where you live. Some things might be the same, some things might be more expensive, but hopefully all of these principles will apply and you'll find all of the recipes I'm about to meal prep for the week to be very inexpensive no matter where you live. So I started by making some artisan bread, and this is the easiest recipe. It's perfect for beginners. All you need is flour, yeast, salt, and water. And you're basically just gonna stir all of these ingredients together until you get a dough. I'll be sure to link all of these recipes down below. And then you just cover it and let it sit overnight for about 12 to 18 hours. It really just depends on how warm your house is. Once I made my dough, I started on some of my main meals for the week, and I cut up one of these pumpkins. Pumpkins are in season or something right now. They are so cheap and they're everywhere. So I knew I wanted to use that in this meal prep, and I encourage you to do the same. Just find what's in season, find what's on sale, and buy it. Cooking seasonally is definitely a way to save money. So once I cut up my pumpkin, I started by sauteing some onion in just a little bit of water, and then I added in my minced garlic and ginger and allowed that to cook for a little bit. Added in some salt to help it sweat, and while I was waiting on those veggies to cook, I just started by cooking my dried chickpeas in my pressure cooker. I just covered them with quite a bit of water, made sure there weren't any weird looking ones, and then pressure cooked them for about 50 minutes. Next, I went back to my pumpkin soup and I started rinsing my red lentils. And then I added all of my pumpkin and just half of those red lentils into my pot because I wanted to use the other half for a different recipe so I wouldn't get sick of the same soup all week long. Next, I just added in some curry powder. I decided that in this challenge, I would let myself use some pantry staples that I had a ton of already, like oil, salt, pepper, and a few spices, and that came in so handy just to add flavor. It definitely wasn't necessary. This would have been fine with just salt and pepper, but I loved this soup so much. It was so good. Once I got the pumpkin and lentils to simmer, I went to another pot and started this red lentil marinara, which I also loved. I really loved these really simple recipes. All I did was finally chop up an onion, one of my carrots, some garlic, and then I put those in a pot to saute before adding in the other half of the red lentils, some mixed herbs that I already had on hand, and water. And I just let the red lentils cook for quite a bit before adding in most of that tomato puree. And I'm really glad I ended up getting tomato puree instead of chopped tomatoes. It added so much richness and flavor to this marinara sauce, which I loved. Once that was simmering, I went back to my pumpkin soup. The lentils had cooked beautifully and the pumpkin was soft, so I added in a little bit of my full-fat coconut milk and I pureed about half of this. I really like texture to my food, so I wanted it to be like a really thick curry soup, and this was definitely my favorite meal this week. And not long after all of my main dishes were done, my chickpeas had finished cooking. I just let them sit in there until I remembered to take them out, and they were nice and soft, and then it was time to just let everything cool and put it in containers so that I was ready to go for the start of my week and I wasn't stressed about what to eat. Eating on a budget definitely takes planning, just so that you know what you're going to use each item for and you don't waste food. So I was really glad that I was able to meal prep a bunch of items, including this artisan bread, which even though I added too much water and had to add more flour to make it into a dough the next morning, it still turned out great. All I did was form it into a ball, place it into my piping hot Dutch oven, which had been preheating in my oven for about an hour, and then I baked it for 30 minutes with the lid on, removed the lid and baked it for another 15 minutes until nice and golden brown and crispy on top. And this was honestly the highlight of my week. I don't cook with all white flour very often, and so this was so good. I forgot how good it is. I need to make it more often. And while I thoroughly enjoyed this white bread, eating on a budget this week definitely reminded me that eating whole grains and buying whole wheat flour is a privilege that I need to be more thankful for. Well, I think I salvaged my bread. It actually looks amazing. And I got so much prepared. I got a ton of chickpeas, a ton of lentil marinara, and some amazing curry pumpkin soup. So very set for the week, at least the start of the week, with a little meal prep. Alright, so let's look more specifically at the meals I enjoyed this week. Just like buying whole grains and certain ingredients is a privilege, also having variety in my meals is such a privilege that I am so thankful for. So this week, my breakfast ingredients were the same each day. I just changed the packaging. So the first couple days, I would mash a banana, add some oats to that, and some water, and I used some cinnamon that I already had in my pantry. Then I would just cook it in the microwave until thick, and then I would stir in some coconut cream to give it some kind of richness. And that was breakfast the first couple days. For days 3 and 4, I decided to basically make the same thing, but I blended some of my oats into a flour and added some baking powder that I already had, and I made baked oatmeal with just mashed banana, some coconut cream that I thinned out with water to make a coconut milk, and the blended up oats, and I would just bake this until it was set. It was fine. It wasn't the greatest. Obviously, baking with a few more ingredients would have made it fluffier and better, but I liked having variety. The last few days were my favorite, and it was pancakes. So I would just mash up my, by this point, very ripe bananas. Here in Malaysia, bananas get so ripe so quickly. But to my banana, I would add in some more oat flour that I had made myself, some of that coconut milk just by thinning out my coconut cream, and with some baking powder. These turned out great. I wish I had made these the first part of the week, so I probably would have had these all week long, as it made a ton. It made 5 really large, hearty pancakes. So I definitely was not hungry after my breakfast. They kept me full for hours, and ideally I would have added more toppings. I would have put on maple syrup, I would have put on nut butter and some cacao chips or seeds, but we just kept it simple and it was delicious. Lunches for the first 4 days, yes, it lasted this long, and I honestly never got sick of this lunch. It was so good. It was my homemade artisan bread, which was so hearty and delicious, and I would just pair it with some of that pumpkin soup that I would just warm up on the stove because I already had it prepared. And the first day I made this, I think I ate quite a bit of pumpkin soup, and I was so full. As you'll see later in one of the dinner clips, this meal kept me full for hours. It's the longest I've gone without snacking on this day. It was very nice. So after this first meal, I just decided to slice up my bread and stick it in the freezer so that it wouldn't go bad, since I usually toast my bread anyways, and this was a great way to keep it fresh and to make sure I didn't waste any food. For the second half of the week, I made some chickpea burgers. So I chopped up some more onion and garlic that I had, and I shredded one of my carrots. I found I really had to ration my vegetables, which is weird for me. I usually eat a ton more veggies, but we just snuck them in whenever we could. And then I had saved a little bit of the tomato puree, and I added that to this mixture, as well as some salt and some cumin and paprika. Just some basic spices I always have on hand and have a lot of. Also, this is how I'm usually able to cook my meals. Play with water. Once my veggies were soft, I added in 3 cups of those cooked chickpeas I made at the beginning of the week into my food processor, along with the onions and carrots and spices, quite a bit more salt just to flavor the chickpeas, and I processed these until kind of a chunky dough formed. Wow, that was not tasty sounding at all, but you want some texture. You don't want these mushy patties. So I poured the mixture into a bowl, added some of that flour I had left over, and just stirred until I got the consistency I needed to make sure that the patties held together. Then I just divided the batter into 6 patties, pressed them down until they were nice and compact. And this, yeah, it made 6 hearty burgers that lasted me the rest of the week. I could have even had 2 a day if I needed to. Basically, I ended up with extra food this week, which is crazy, but I just toasted these on my griddle. I love this thing so much. I can make so many pancakes at a time, or burgers, or marinated tofu. Definitely get your hands on one if you can. I think this is just from Amazon, so I'll be sure to link it below. But I just cooked these until they were brown on both sides. They were a little bit more crumbly than a burger I would normally make with a lot more ingredients, but it was just a nice way to mix up my meals on the second half of the week. So I had some leftover zucchini from dinners, which you'll see in a little bit. So I just put one of my patties, some zucchini on my artisan bread with some ketchup. I don't know if I'm cheating, but I put ketchup on it and wanted to show that, and had some carrot fries. My son is sad in the background and everything is on the stove, but I haven't eaten in about 7 hours. And I honestly don't even, like, my stomach's not growling. I just feel a little bit of low blood sugar. But wow, that lunch filled me up. It's been something I want to work on, just not snacking as much, just because I want to give my body a break to digest food. And I just want to be full for longer without thinking about food. So I've known for a long time that I need to just eat larger portions and add more protein. So I think that lunch checked all the boxes, because I haven't gone that long without feeling hungry in ages. So I'm very excited for tonight's dinner, having the red lentil marinara and pasta and some zucchini, and it should be good. Yes, so for days 1 through 4, these are kind of estimates. I kind of mixed and matched all week long, but I had some red lentil marinara on pasta, and then to save some noodles for my next dinner recipe, I also put the marinara on some of my artisan bread like a pizza toast, and it was really good. So the last meal I made this week was a 1-pot, really easy, creamy coconut lemon pasta. I just sauteed some garlic in a little bit of olive oil, added in my coconut cream and some water and some salt. And I brought this to almost a simmer before adding in my broken noodles. Yes, I'm sorry I broke them. The last time I cooked them whole, they just stuck together, so I didn't want to do that this time. And while those were simmering in the liquid, I just decided to chop up the rest of my zucchini, saute it with the rest of my chickpeas and some garlic powder and salt. And I just wanted these to get browned and charred a little bit. And they were a great protein source and flavor topping to my noodles. So as you can see, you cook your noodles in the same liquid that will become your sauce. And all I had to do to these noodles was add a little bit of the lemon zest from my lemon and a little more salt if needed, but this was dinner the rest of the week. Okay guys, let's talk calories. I don't normally track calories, but I did put all of the items that I purchased in grams into a calorie counter and divided it by 7, and each day came to about 2,000 calories and 90 grams of protein, which is so cool just to see that yes, you can eat healthy on a budget, you can get enough protein, you can get enough calories. I know this is just a very average number. It depends on whether you're pregnant or active, man or woman. You guys get that, but in general, you won't necessarily starve eating on a budget, which is so cool. In all transparency, I didn't eat everything that I purchased, so I don't really know how many calories I ate a day this week because I was single parenting this week, and instead of throwing away the food that my kids didn't eat, I would eat it instead if I was still hungry, instead of going back for another slice of my bread or a little bit more soup. It just seemed weird to throw food away or waste food on a budget challenge. So I ended up going about 8 or 9 days on all the food that I purchased, and that's pretty awesome. Halfway through the week, I felt like I needed groceries, but then I just remembered, no, I can't go to the grocery store. I made those chickpea burgers and that coconut pasta and was able to eat for 3-4 more days. And so this was just a good reminder to not rush to the grocery store first thing when I feel like I need groceries, but to instead look in my pantry, look in my fridge, look in my freezer, get creative, make a random meal. Yeah, you can definitely go longer than you think before you have to buy more groceries. I definitely missed being able to eat as many veggies as I wanted. I'm used to loading half of my plate with veggies, and I definitely rationed them this week just because I wanted veggies at lunch and dinner. So that was a little weird, but definitely doable. I would say that if you budget on a monthly basis, that is the better way to go, because I could have bought a lot of things in bulk at the start of my month and it would have saved me money in the long run. But this was such a fun challenge. I really enjoyed it. I love being creative and being frugal and using my money wisely. And so it was just fun to get back into some old habits that I've forgotten about. If you guys like this video and want to create this week of eating, I've created a shopping list down below that you guys can download and take to the grocery store with you. And if you want to see more budget challenges like this, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below, subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.